You can grow almost anything you like, including tomatoes, in a greenhouse capsule. Don't be afraid to have a go. Somebody told me that tomatoes grow too tall to be successful in a greenhouse capsule. However, some varieties are quite short, and other varieties can grow quite successfully along a piece of mesh. Here you can see that I've set up a capsule specifically for tomatoes. At the back, I've used some square mesh and made a climbing wall for the tomatoes to climb along, rather than up. The tomato at this end is a Tigerella, and here on the right is a heirloom tomato called Allen's Early Red, which is already starting to fruit. Both of these tomatoes are being trained and tied along the mesh wall. It's a good thing to note also that we've cut a hole in the mesh around the base here to make space for the manifold at the bottom. The tomatoes towards the front are tumbling toms. Tumbling toms are usually grown in large pots or in hanging baskets so they can tumble freely. But we thought we'd give them a go in here to see what happens. Interestingly enough, we purchased 8 tumbling toms on the same day from the same nursery. We planted one of them in a traditional vegetable garden over here, and just metres away, the balance of them in the greenhouse capsule. The average height of the tumblers in the capsule is 250 millimetres versus 150 millimetres in the traditional garden. Plus, we've overcrowded the greenhouse capsule just to see what happens. We think you'll get a surprise. In frosty zones like Canberra and the Snowy Mountains, low temperatures and frost are the worst during October and November. So if you live in a cold and frosty region, introduce some tomatoes into the capsule during October or November. Propagate them, and when they mature, you can then transplant them into a nice, warm, properly prepared garden outside as the season permits. You'll be way ahead of your mates during the cold and frosty months, and your friends will wonder what you're doing. Now here's something interesting. I've always thought that vegetables and fruits that flower require pollination. That's just not so. Many people have asked me at shows and events how pollination occurs with the greenhouse capsule's lid closed. Well, quite frankly, I had no idea until I asked our resident horticulturist that very question. You can grow and harvest tomatoes, lettuce, cabbage, potatoes, garlic, broccoli, beans, peas and any greens without pollination. You can actually help your tomato plant set more fruit each season by showing it some tactile love. You just take the flowering branches and give them a gentle shake. The pollen will drop from the stamen of the flower onto the pistil and pollination occurs. Amazing! Whoever would have thought that?